Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Alright everyone, hello, welcome to the, I guess it still has no real name, I'm just calling it The Podcast, because I don't know what else to do. This is the Patreon podcast on my channel, the Adam Koralik channel, and I am joined by my co-stars here, Chip Senkbeil and Remi Munier. Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
Hello.
How you doing? How's everybody doing, man?
I'm good.
Tell me what's going on.
I am actually really hungry.
You're hungry? Me too, man.
Oh,
I was going to go out and get food, but I woke up way too late, so I'm going to have to do it after we finish recording.
Wait, you didn't wake up right before this, did you?
I woke up at, 35 minutes ago. I was up, no, seriously, cool. I was up all night editing crap.
Yeah, well, you've been so busy lately. I know you didn't expect to get this many conventions and everything else to go to.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I got
How many do you think you've gone to in total, or you're going to go to once you wrap them all up?
This year?
Yeah.
100.
Let's go with this year.
I don't know, man. I haven't been keeping track. I got like 2 more next week. It's ridiculous. I think I'm going to San Francisco in like 2 days, and then I think I'm going to, and I know I'm going to St. Louis like the day after that. So like I fly out of here in Chicago to San Francisco on the 10th, and I'm there for the 11th for like a Ubisoft press event. And then I fly back that night, and then the next morning I have to fly out to St. Louis, and then I'm there for 3 days, and then I come back here. So, like, I'm all over the damn place. I was just in Toronto for Con Bravo. Literally the day before that, I was in the UK for a bunch of stuff, including Star Wars Celebration. I was in Ireland before that, and yeah, it's been out of control.
Get some rest.
I'd like to, but... Right before I went to Ireland, I went to Philadelphia for too many games. Yeah, a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. Anyway, enough of that crap. Let's talk about stuff that's interesting. You guys want to hear about interesting things? We got some subjects here. Remi, I believe you came up with the first one here. This was you wanted to talk about NX updates and the whole console hybrid deal and what our thoughts on it are. Did you have anything specific you wanted to bring up?
Well, first of all, it's just really a rumor as of now. It's not very confirmed, but I've seen it's the console handheld hybrid. I wanted to know if you think it's actually a good idea or a bad idea. For me, I think it can be a good idea. Would be better for me, especially, than the Wii U gamepad. I know you like that, but I don't.
All right, well, yeah, okay, so it depends on how it's executed. I keep saying if it uses physical media, then I'm probably on board. I've never been the biggest fan of handheld, so I probably wouldn't use it that much, like on the go. But I guess the way supposedly it's going to work is that it has like some sort of docking station where it works with your TV, so that essentially makes it a console. And if that's the case, then I don't really take any issue with that. But, I do have questions on how it works. My guess is that the extra screen, which is used for mobility, probably has no bonus function for when it's used on your TV if it's treated like a docking station.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, so essentially it just becomes a pair of controllers at that point, which, I personally would be fine with.
Me too.
It sounds kind of like the Neo Geo X, right?
Don't call it that.
Please.
But you're not wrong. Actually, that is probably the best comparison. Hopefully, it's just that, but not built like crap.
That did come to my mind.
You'd be struggling to build it worse than that.
I hope it's better.
Yeah. Now, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about this thing. Chip, you could probably tell us more about this. I hope not because of your name, but because of the certain chips they're using in it. That it's actually going to be less advanced than even the Xbox One. Have you heard that?
To be honest, I have not heard too many rumors about it. I mean, I've heard it's going to be less powerful than the Xbox One S, I thought.
I heard even Xbox One OG. Not the original Xbox, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The 2013 Xbox One.
Yeah.
I think it was
the modern one.
A little more powerful than this one, but not as much as the S, I think.
That's amazing because that's such a subtle difference between the two.
Well, I mean, I doubt I doubt Nintendo's saying, okay, let's compare these consoles and let's build it right in between. They've probably picked out their hardware and everything else way in advance. 'Cause this research probably started a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
here's the thing. I could understand it being more advanced than the 2013 Xbox One, but less advanced than the Scorpio. But the difference between the Xbox One 2013 and the Xbox One S is minute. To actually somehow wedge it in there is amazing. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like that's an ace in the hole golf shot right there.
I mean, do you remember what the difference is between? I know you think you just did a video on it, right? The differences between the Xbox One and the Xbox One S are.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand. I shot that video like a month and a half ago.
Oh, that's right.
But a lot of the differences have to do with like 4K Blu-ray and Netflix output. I think they slightly upgraded part of it so that it does run games a little bit better, but the difference is minute. And it uses less power, and it's fundamentally it's smaller. But performance-wise, the biggest difference is just 4K video capabilities.
Now, have we actually had anything confirmed about the NX other than that the NX is going to exist?
Not really.
Zelda will be on it. I think that's all we know.
Well, yeah, but nothing regarding the actual console itself.
Okay, because I thought I remember seeing somewhere where maybe these were just rumors that were stronger rumors, no disc-based media in it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's all the rumors about, are they going to go back to cartridges? Not in the traditional sense, but some form of something with contact pens versus it being a disc, right? That kind of stuff, which we don't know about. But yeah, I'm curious about the output format of, or what output formats it supports, right?
I would assume HDMI only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even Nintendo's got on that one by now.
Seems logical.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're like, oh, look, we can still use composite. We'd be like, come on, dude.
That's way outdated.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we don't know anything concrete, but a lot of the rumors, especially lately, seem to suggest, it's going to be this console handheld hybrid. It's going to use something we might consider to be a cartridge. It will not have any form of backwards compatibility. And it uses some sort of Android-based thing. What's the term I'm thinking of? There was somebody who was talking about a chipset, and it was like Tegra. Right? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. That's like the NVIDIA mobile GPUs, right?
Yeah, and instead of
it wasn't the NVIDIA Shield.
That's what people were talking about, saying that it's using something similar to that, which a lot of people are getting up in arms about because that puts it around the Xbox One at best. And
that's if they use the newer version of Tegra. I think.
Yeah,
you go with an older version that's even behind.
Because of that, because they're ditching PowerPC, it will not be able to support GameCube, Wii, or Wii U stuff. So it won't have any kind of pre-existing library other than whatever they port over digitally.
Unless they can emulate something, but I guess they're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever they port digitally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what you just said.
You can't put CDs in it, so.
Yeah, exactly. So my idea for that, although I say that was having no understanding of what the actual hardware is if it has like USB ports or something, you might be able to add like external add-ons for backwards compatibility at people's choice, kind of like the Game Boy player for the Cube. Not exactly the same thing, but similar in concept.
Yeah, it's tough though, because you got to think about the bandwidth for these things, like how much data can be transferred. And I don't know unless they go with a USB 3.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Even Nintendo would know that at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where I'm not sure how realistic that is. Right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't assume they'll do it. I'm just saying if you want to get compatibility, that's a way to do it without forcing optical drives on every unit.
Yeah. Now, what I find interesting is if this is a hybrid, handheld console. Are they basically dropping their handheld line, right? The 3DS line, or is this?
Oh, I'd be astonished if they did, dude. It's like the thing that brings them money.
Yeah, but
it's their cash cow.
Both in the same.
I don't know, man. It depends. If the NX is successful as a handheld, then I could see them doing that. But if it's not, I don't know.
It really depends to me on the battery life of the handheld, right? When you're using it, because I know. The 3DS has finally started to get decent battery life. The newer versions anyway.
Mm-hmm. The new
especially
3DS?
when you turn off the 3D. Oh, I don't know about the new 3DS, but just the newer iterations, the newer models of the 3DS.
Well,
he's talking about the ones
3DS.
literally called the new 3DS.
Yeah. I'm saying I don't know about that one, but I'm saying in general, the 3DS, the original hardware was pretty weak in terms of battery, and it's they've had new iterations, not just the new 3DS, but newer iterations of 3DS. It's so confusing.
It doesn't help that they literally call it the new 3DS.
Yeah, you're complaining about the Xbox One. I'm like, okay, I can kind of understand that a little bit better. But when you say new 3DS, it's like, well, which one are you talking about? I'm like, no, not that one. Right?
Yeah. Well, it did.
But,
I hated that trend. I mean, this is a side rant, but I hated that Nintendo did that. Oh, new Super Mario Brothers. You know, it's like you guys.
No,
you guys,
that's true.
Like I had.
Yeah.
It's a side story. I was at like a Christmas party a few years ago. My cousin's girlfriend was talking to me about. She's like, "Yeah, we wanted to play like the new Mario Brothers on the Wii." And at this point, like the Wii U had been out for like 2 years, and she was like, "It has like a red case." I'm like, "So the new one is not really the new one because the one you're talking about came out like 7 years ago, and there's a newer new one." Which is like, what a stupid name, man.
New Mario Bros. Wii U.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought you might have been talking about, but
Apparently not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the point was supposed to be that if the hybrid's battery life is weak, and they decide to drop the 3DS line or whatever they go with in the future for handhelds, right? They just drop their handheld separate division. That's going to be a little poor because, I mean, unless they assume it's going to be like the Wii U where you just carry around the gamepad around the house and then charge it after a couple of hours, right? It's like people will never use it for the handheld portion, right? It would be one of those things where the handheld idea, just like how the gamepad didn't really take off that much, does it just kind of, oh, it's a neat gimmick, but we're not going to use it for that. We're just going to use it for the home console, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I hope not, because if that's what happens, then it just becomes one of the weirdest looking consoles of all time, because then it's essentially a screen that sits on your shelf that you don't actually look at the screen.
Would be weird.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll see. But again, this is all rumors. We don't know any of this. We could come out, they could announce tomorrow that it's like a very conventional console.
It's the GameCube, too.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the
Going
game.
back to those little mini discs, mini DVDs.
Yeah, but they're mini Blu-rays now. I mean, let's
of
get with
course.
the times. Let's come on.
Of course.
Yeah,
I wonder
of
what the
course.
licensing cost is to do something like Blu-ray.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Nintendo has always been opposed to that. If you look at all their media, they always avoid paying those fees. Like, because Sony, I guess, is the owner of CD, DVD, and Blu-ray, like as formats.
Mm-hmm.
They're at least partial owners in some cases. So there has never been a Nintendo console to support music CDs. There has never been a Nintendo console to support DVDs. And never one to support Blu-rays either. Like GameCube, Wii, and Wii U each use like a mutant form of DVD and Blu-ray, but enough so to avoid paying certain licensing fees. It's kind of, unless you include the Panasonic Cube, but that was really Panasonic's thing.
Isn't there also licensing you have to pay to have HDMI? Isn't that something that's licensed?
I think
Probably,
I
but
think
I think you can't get around that one. Like you have to
Yeah.
hook it up to a television. Nintendo can't make a proprietary format on the back because then they would have to make their own TVs that support it.
Yeah, well, the only thing I guess you could do is you could do DisplayPort, because that's open, and there's no licensing there, but you still need an adapter to go from DisplayPort to HDMI.
Yeah,
right?
even Nintendo's not going to be that, like, here's a bunch of extra crap you have to hook up, because they've always tried to be kind of plug and play, and
Yeah.
you can't complicate matters that much.
Always the simplest.
Yep. All right, I think we're good on that. Chip, you had the next subject, and you want to introduce it here?
Yeah, so basically, we, especially you, Adam, have kind of talked about DLC and discussed, okay, when the internet started to become more prevalent in game consoles and DLC became more than just getting some maps or some, extra visuals, and it started becoming more of a, okay, you have this game, you better hope you get all the DLC for it, because otherwise it's incomplete, or you have this console, you better hope you get all the upgrades for it before the servers go down, otherwise it's going to be incomplete kind of thing. And it's just kind of made me think, okay, is there a way to take DLC for, or entirely digital games to provide a physical approach, provide a physical option without having to go and have an entire, produce CDs or something like that, or cartridges for them, right? So I was kind of thinking along the lines of what I've seen with, say, like the Indie Box, which is, I can't remember where they're based out of, but basically they produce artwork, box, and they'll put the game on either a USB stick, or now they're actually going to CDs, just to install the game on PCs. And I was kind of thinking, okay, so if you have that for PCs, where they're taking a digital game, producing physical media for it, could a company take an approach of having a less expensive way to bring DLC, updates to games, and updates to consoles in a physical form, right? So you could actually save without having to worry about the servers going down. You could save an alternative way to install these things.
I think in concept, yeah, that exists or could exist. There are people who kind of chip away at that. Sorry, I don't mean to use your name
Again.
Yeah,
But
it wasn't intended, I swear. There are some companies that do that. Like, so there's Limited Run Games. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They operate out of the U.S. They make like they'll take a lot of digital games. They'll hook up with independent developers, and they'll become publishers where they only release like 2,000 copies of random games. Like Octodad, Dadliest Catch for PS4 was digital only. They got 2,000 or so discs printed. Has the game, has all the patches, has all the DLC built right into the disc. So there are some companies that do that. There was another company that did that with Retro City Rampage, if you guys remember that game. Again, PS4. And for whatever reason, you know, Remi, you could possibly tell us more about this. There is a lot of indie games that they only get digital releases in North America, but they get physical releases with all the content in Europe. So like I was just in the UK, and I came back with like a stack of PS4 games that only got physical releases there, but or we only got digital releases here, and a lot of them are fully patched and have all the DLC built right into the disc. In one case, Goat Simulator for the Xbox One, it got a physical release in Europe with all the DLC all on disc, and again, we didn't get it here. So there are companies that chip away at that, but there's also other, like if you go online, I know there are some websites that house all of the DLC for like the original Xbox. It's all there.
Oh, really?
There are places that have all the DLC and patches for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. It's just a matter of how easy or difficult it is to get them onto the system. Because in those three cases, your console has to be modified for it to be able to do that. So I don't know if there is any. There certainly is no perfect solution yet, but I love that idea of indie box and limited run games and companies like that, just taking a lot of these indie games and giving them maybe even eventually like compilation discs. Like there's a lot of like indie collections out there. It'd be nice if there was just a bunch of these games were all just thrown on the same disc with all their content at once and released in more of an official capacity. But I don't know. Did you have someone in mind for that?
I mean, for me, I was thinking, okay, this is more of just a thought of what could be, right? It's, you know, a what if situation. You know, what if Microsoft, for some reason, decided to offer a service where you could go to their site and they could say, hey, look, this is the latest version of the OS for the Xbox One, right? You could go there and you could say, I want to get a physical USB stick or SD card or something, right? And if the Xbox One also supported, you know, them having a code signed version of the sticks that you could just plug it in and it's like, hey, you have an update, you want to install it, kind of thing. Basically, a company that owns one of these consoles, right, providing a service to let you go pay and get physical copies, right? So it's like an on-demand kind of archival service, and also, you know, down the line do that for the games that are published on the system, right? Say, hey, look, there was this patch available. You can at any point just pay and get like a little USB stick or SD card or disc or something shipped to you that's made on demand to do these updates, right? So basically, the system itself would have the capability to run this signed code. I'm assuming it'd be signed because otherwise they could install anything. But do something like that, right? And just you could basically preserve a lot of this stuff. But I was thinking more of like a what if scenario if a company, even Nintendo or someone else, right, just offered this as a service. So you could go to any game you want or the console itself and just archive those updates such that you don't have to worry about, oh, the servers go down. You can actually maintain a physical copy. I know, like certain operating systems used to do that, especially Linux operating systems, where you some of the more well-known ones anyway that tried to be consumer friendly. You could actually get thumbsticks that had the OS on them, so you could actually get an archive snapshot of the OS at that point, and you could just get that one to go, right? So it's kind of thinking along the same lines, but it definitely is nice to see third parties, you know, trying to do something like that. Granted, it's after the fact, you know, sometimes years after the fact for some of these games, which it has to be because they're producing a snapshot once the game has all the content, not letting you do an on-demand whenever the new content gets added, right? Kind of thing. But it's more like a pondering kind of thing there, right? And if there are any other kinds of ways to provide a physical approach to things that were predominantly digital or DLC as well, which you already kind of touched on with the other third parties other than IndieBox.
You know, well, the funny thing is some of the stuff you mentioned, I know Sony kind of does that with the patches for the PS4. You can download them, just put them on a USB drive, and then just throw it in your PS4 and update that way. Okay. That is already an option there. Yeah, you can do that. In fact, it's recommended a lot of the time because when they a big update comes out, everybody tries downloading it at once. So if you download it to your flash drive first, your console's much more likely to not run into problems when it's updating.
That's true.
Secondly, the funny thing about what you were mentioning about perhaps mailing out like discs or whatever, do you guys remember when the Xbox 360 was still doing original Xbox backwards compatibility, like back in like 05, 06?
Yeah, I do.
There was a brief phase there where every single update, every time Microsoft would do it, if you wanted to, if you didn't have internet connectivity for whatever reason, you could actually, contact them and they would mail you an update disc that would do exactly just that update. You just pop it in and it would update it. That was a thing. You can actually look online. I don't know if they're still there, but a lot of people were selling those discs online after they got them because they have no purpose once you update.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that actually could be something that's kind of useful because I've noticed every once in a while, every time the 360 would get like a system update, if you didn't, you'd have to go back and reconnect some sort of original Xbox game to re-download the software all over again. Because if you didn't, it basically loses all the backwards compatibility. So those discs might actually be valuable at some point.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know they actually ship those out or provide that option. Yeah, that's basically what I was thinking of, right? But it sounds like that came and went, right?
Yeah, that phase might be, unfortunately, is kind of over. I don't think they're going to run mass disc presses just for that purpose, but...
No, and that's what I was saying, on demand, right? So it'd have to be one of those things where they would literally just have a smaller run of these kind of things, or to do it on demand, just be a lot more expensive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that could work. I mean, there are companies like, there are movie studios like Warner Brothers does a lot of TV shows on demand. You just, they're like, hey, I'm going to buy this show, and then they'll print up one set and mail it off to you. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's impossible. But, yeah, I don't know if there's any obvious solution to that. I mean... Remi, your position might be a little different because, again, like I was saying, Europe seems to be a little more embracing of physical content than we are lately. Do you have any idea why that might be?
Honestly, no. And pretty much everyone I know is really for digital only, which is sad for me. And as for the disc, I think it would be very cool. And since I think it's Microsoft, you could go online to get specially made controllers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they are doing that, they could just do a separate thing with discs to get some updates or DLC or some stuff like that.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. Now, I can see why they won't do that while the DLC is still, like, for sale.
Yeah,
but if they could sell you, like, a whole DLC disc after, a game is, like, done, that would be really cool.
I imagine it would be easier if you didn't even have a disc, right? If they supported a USB stick of some kind, because those are a lot easier to do on demand than it would be to get a disc pressing, right?
Yeah, as long as you can have something physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's an interesting concept because, I mean, I know it's still a disc, but like, Fallout 3 Game of the Year editions, Skyrim Game of the Year editions, whenever you look at those, all they really were was they were 2 disc sets. One disc was the same original game, and the second one, they just pressed up a disc that had all the DLC on it, and you would just tell it to install, and then it would just, that's it. Mm-hmm. It'd be kind of cool to do something like that, but on a more mass scale. The problem is, you'll only get that for like the most successful of games. You'll never get that for just the random indie titles. Yeah. So your only shot for like indie titles is once they're done, they just include them in some sort of physical collection of all of these games. Mm-hmm. That would be nice too. Yeah, because we've got to stress this for people who are maybe not entirely sure why we care about this. Down the road when those servers are gone and you try to play some of those games, they'll only be the buggy version of the game. I mean, like, imagine 10 years from now, you pop, let's say, Assassin's Creed Unity into your, PS4 or Xbox One. You've never had it on there before. Servers are all down. All you have is that launched buggy version that was on disc because they never re-released it. They never, the updates aren't saved anywhere. That's a shame in the future. And I think that's essentially what we're hoping we can avoid.
I mean, some games don't even play because they require you to install an update first, and if you can't do that, they just say, sorry, you have to update first before we allow you to play the game, right?
Really?
Yeah,
I've seen that especially actually on the 3DS. You plug in some of the games there, and it requires a system update to play, and if you say no, then it just exits out.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
But how does that work if it does, like, if the console is offline and it doesn't know.
Then you can't.
You have to updates. Yeah, you can't play the game.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
At least the ones
agree.
I've seen, they just exit out. Yeah.
See, I can understand if like it asks you for an update and you deny it, but if it doesn't even know there's an update available, how does it know there's an update available if it's not connected?
Well, I imagine what happens is that the game, when it's made, says, hey, this is the version at the time that I was expecting, right? And then it sees that you're on an older version, and it says, hey, look, this game says it's on a newer version, and you're on this other version, so there must be a difference, right?
So the game, you're telling me, let's say they ship game X, they ship version 0.9, knowing full well it's not done, and they expect version 1.0 to be totally readily available online the second you receive the disc or the cartridge or whatever. So you pop it in, it knows it's 0.9, it knows it needs to look for 0.1, can't find 1.0, can't find 1.0, and just says, fuck you, I'm not working?
Yeah. Oh, no, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking more about, like, so you have 3DS handheld, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your 3DS has a version, right, as a firmware version.
Oh, you're talking about the console hardware.
Yeah,
okay.
the console, not the game.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. There were a lot of Wii games like that. But a lot of the time what they'll do is they'll build the system update into the disc.
Yeah, I know the PSP
Yeah,
had that. I don't know. Like, I know the 3DS games have not offered an offline update, but now that I think about it, I've never actually tried to run it offline rather than just installing the update.
Because I know,
so maybe they do.
The Wii does that. The PS3 does that. The PSP does that. I assume if Nintendo did it with the Wii, I can't imagine they took it out of the Wii U or took it out of the 3DS. But maybe you're right. I don't know. I never tried it.
Well, like I said, I've never tried it offline and then trying to say yes and see what it does when it can't connect, right? I just said, okay, no, I don't.
I got you.
Me neither.
All right, then. All right, well, I think that's a good segue into the next subject, which was brought to us by a guy named Kyle Vaughn. He asked about game collecting in general because he's trying to get a Dreamcast collection started. I'll tell you guys about this in a minute because I got to give him credit because this is an insane task he wants to do. First of all, he wants to how to get into it, tips in general on collecting, where to start regardless of what the system is, and when over collecting can defeat the purpose and spending too much can cause an imbalance. Okay, well, so you guys understand, he wants to get a full Dreamcast set, North America, Europe, and Japan. Now, I did that, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's not that big of a deal. He's like, no, I want it all sealed.
Ooh. Oh my god.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, no, man, I'm going for a full set, every region, all of them brand new, sealed. And I was just,
is that even possible anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
It must be, but that's insane.
You're going to be paying ridiculous amounts to people that are basically scalping with sealed items, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine you finding some of these things sealed unless you just go to eBay and pay hundreds of dollars for something that's overpriced, just because it gets one of those. What are those things? Like they get them like the rankings that like
the VGA grade or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like you have to get like the A plus or whatever, and it's like no.
Yeah,
no. That's never worth it. But if that's what he's going for, that might be the only option available. If someone's selling in like a C or a B or something that's sealed.
Yeah.
Man, that
right?
Like, did all the games come in? Weren't there a couple that didn't even come in jewel cases? I'm trying to remember those.
Oh, you're talking about like the Japanese ones or what?
Yeah, or like I know like
the only two oddball releases in North America were Seaman and Alien Front Online. They came in like cardboard boxes because they had microphones with them.
Mm-hmm.
They were like slightly bigger, and but I think those were originally sealed in plastic as well.
Okay,
but that would
have
count.
To be.
Yeah, so
he's gonna have the console also sealed. Is he going for just one console, or is he going for multiple? He's not going for every different.
I have no idea, dude. That's all he told me. He told me about the game sets that he wants to get everything. I tried to talk him out of it because I was like, "That's insane." And he's like, "I've already got Mars Matrix sealed." That's like a big.
I don't know the worth of that. I don't know how much that's worth.
It's worth 200, like in just okay condition, complete.
Whoa!
And he's got a sealed, minty, fresh copy.
This guy must have either a ton of money or that's all he's doing.
He started off well, but I warned him, like, you have no idea what you're in for. Like, that's like.
Let alone the money. It's just you're just not going to find some of those things.
It was
on eBay.
Yeah, like I finished my Dreamcast set in like 2009, except for the indie stuff. Incidentally, brand new independent title just came out from France. Thank you, Remi.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's by a guy named Orion. It's the Orion's Puzzle Collection. Little side plug there because people should go check it out. But
isn't there another Kickstarter that just finished or something for Dreamcast as well?
No, I think you might be talking about Xenocider, which unfortunately
no, not Xenocider. There's another one.
I'm not sure.
It was
then.
also a puzzle one. I can't remember what it was called now. I'll have to look it up later.
Yeah, you hook me up with the link. We'll check it out. But no, this Orion's Puzzle Collection actually did come out. But aside from the indie games, like I finished all my Dreamcast stuff in like 2009, man. And back then, nobody cared about it. Like, you know, that was when it was worthless, especially when the economy tanked around then. It was easy to get. But I can't even imagine, because now the market, even for the used stuff, is insane. Like Mars Matrix, that game I was just mentioning, now that's like a $200 game in complete set. When I bought it, it was like a $5 bargain bin game. People were getting rid of it, and they couldn't get rid of it. It was worthless.
The golden age.
Yeah, and now like he's going for a full set that's, you know, sealed. And I'd like to give him a collective, you know, round of applause for really, yeah, exactly. Like, I can't believe he's going to try that. Actually, we should probably get to his question, though. Because
maybe.
We just kind of went off the handle.
Yeah,
like,
we really
what is this guy doing?
Just for the record, Kyle, we're just blown away by how much you want to do this. I got to give you credit.
I'm actually curious as to why. Like, this can't be like a spur of the moment. Oh, I just want to do this.
You know, he emailed me about it and basically said, you know, he really likes the console, and he just, you know, he says it this way. Okay, he said like I inspired him to do this. Like he wanted to get all this stuff because like I did it too. But I told him like I would never try to get it sealed. That's insane. But I guess that's his attempt to do it better than me, and I can't blame him. If you can do it better than me, do it, man.
Everyone wants to be better than Adam.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to be better than me. Trust me. You don't have to do this. This is just crazy. You already got one game sealed. Just get everything else loose plus the one sealed game, and you're good.
Get the one you like sealed.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, how to get into it as far as collecting. I don't know, man. How to get into it? Like I just kind of did it. Like it was never. I guess in my case, I never really sold any of my stuff. Like when I was a kid, when I would get video games. I never went to GameStop and like traded away my whole collection to get like $12 in credit for the next console. Like that if you want tips and general collecting advice, that's the best piece of advice I can possibly give you. What everyone makes the huge mistake of doing is when they have a console, let's say you got the Xbox 360, you've had it for years, you have tons and tons of games, and now the Xbox One's coming out, and you're like, oh, I really want the Xbox One. The mistake everyone makes is they take all their Xbox 360 stuff, and they sell it to GameStop when it's at its minimum value. There is no point where Xbox 360 stuff will be worth less than when the Xbox One was coming out. And they trade it all away for the lowest amount of possible value in exchange for some credit towards an Xbox One when it's at its highest value. That's just terrible economics. And then you come back later and go, I kind of miss my 360, but I sold, you know, thousands of dollars worth of stuff for $12 at GameStop credit. Like, you can't do that. That's a terrible idea. So what I always tell people is I know it kind of sucks because to pay full price for the things you do want, but you'll really, really regret it later when you try to rebuy all this stuff you once had free and clear.
I was gonna ask. Did that mean people really do that, where they sell off their entire previous generation of games?
Totally.
Oh yeah, constantly.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I know when people move, they might get rid of whatever they're hoarding. I mean, I'll probably have to do that when I move. But
yeah, you got to get rid of some of those boxes, dude. Those keyboard collections and
come on,
no, dude. It's just all these circuits lying around. I literally just have too many things in the way that are flooding everything.
Yeah, Chip.
Get rid of our cable collection.
You collect boxes, right, and cables.
No, I have cables left over when I rip things apart.
That's what it sounds. That's what a hoarder says, dude. No, I just have them around.
Look,
so you collect them.
This mini Super Nintendo is sitting here open. I've got all these cables floated around that's supposed to plug into it.
Yes. All right, I'm sorry. Go on.
I forget what I was talking about now.
Sorry, you were talking about do people really sell these things?
Oh yeah, do people really sell okay, so the only time I've ever sold anything, and it was to EB Games back when they still existed.
They still exist in Canada.
Do they?
Yep.
Oh, I thought like all of them were bought out by GameStop.
They were, but in Canada they just kept the name EB Games.
Oh, so it's kind of like Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
Yeah, except the way this doesn't really matter, but the way with Canadian culture is, it's their attempt is to be their culture is almost defined by how not America they are. So if we're so if we're gonna be GameStop, they're gonna be EB Games.
Okay.
That's not meant to be offensive, Canadians. You guys know it's true. You know it's true. You have a maple leaf in the logo of EB Games. You know it's true.
I mean,
the price
to be fair,
high.
I liked EB Games before it became GameStop.
Yeah,
anyway.
me too. I loved EB Games before GameStop absorbed them. We got the shit end of that deal. Anyway.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I miss Funko Land. That's who I miss.
You know, I didn't even know that existed because where I lived, there was only like one game store, and it was EB Games. So I just went there all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on again.
Dude, I forgot again what I was talking about.
Oh, again, you're talking about
Again?
selling stuff.
Oh yeah, so I've only sold things once, and it was a couple of games for the PlayStation and the GameCube. And I think I was like 15 or something, and I was so pissed off. No, I was older than that, but I was so pissed off at Wind Waker. Because I was playing that game, and near the end, you're supposed to go fish out the Triforce or something, and it's notorious as like one of the most boring parts of the game, overly long. And when they did the remake for the Wii U, or the HD version, they actually stripped down that and reduced the time it took to do that part of the quest. But I was in like such a blind rage, I went there and sold all the games for $5. And they even the guy at the counter's like, you know, I can only give you like 5 cents for this this like Pac-Man adventure game for the PlayStation, right? I'm like, I don't care, just get it out of here. But
Get it off.
get it off, yeah.
See,
But, I mean, I kept like my Super Nintendo stuff, like the things I actually cared about, minus that one GameCube game I kept, right?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that's a mistake. Especially a lot of younger people make is that they'll have these like collections they've amassed over the years, and then they get excited about the next thing for one reason or another, and then they trade it all in for, like you said, like 5 cents for one game. And then years later, they're like, wow, that was a huge mistake. Like, I very rarely ever traded anything in a GameStop, and I'll tell you right now, I regret it every single time. I remember I had a Game Gear, and I had, like, a bunch of games for it. And at one point, I was trading it in towards, I don't even remember what I was trading it in for. And, like, a guy openly tells me, like, I can literally give you $1 for the Game Gear. And I was like, I actually decided not to do it, because I was like, this wasn't even worth the gas money over here. You know, like, this is so dumb. And so, you know, it's just that's honestly, dude, is my biggest advice for collecting in general is don't sell off your stuff, you know, unless you have something really high end that you know you can get a lot of money for. It's not worth it. If you're trying to amass a collection, getting rid of things is not going to help you do that.
Yeah, the only time I did that was actually I had no choice. I wanted first it was the Genesis, and I couldn't afford it. So what I had to do is sell the Master System, and it killed me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no choice.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I'm also still surprised you keep calling it the Genesis, like for our benefit.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Oh, Remi, you might have to help Kyle out, because if he's going for the full PAL set, he's going to be looking for Taxi. Can you say it?
Taxi 2.
Can you say the?
Oh, come on again.
Can you say the name of the game for us?
Oh, Taxi 2 le jeu.
Oh, look at that! It sounded so French. That's
So beautiful.
Of course
yeah,
it is.
All right, so Chip, in case you're not aware, the game he just said is a Dreamcast game that was exclusive to France only.
Really?
It is probably the hardest European game to find for the Dreamcast because of just that reason.
That's not what Scott the Canadian was trying to get, was it?
It was.
Okay.
Well, he was only trying to get it because I was pushing him to. Scott the Canadian.
So it's your fault. You're pushing him to get the hardest to get game.
I'm trying to do
period.
him a favor, man. I was over there. I'm like, hey, man, I can get you Shenmue 2 right now for £60, which is like $80 US
Cool.
or $100 Canadian. And I was like, yeah, I'll get it for you right now. I'm like, you will never find this. Like, we found it in the States for like 120 US. I'm like, I'm doing you a huge favor. I'll get it for you. And he was like fighting against me the whole time. And I'm like, no, you have to get it. And I made him buy it. And now I'm pushing him to buy all these PAL exclusives. So, Remi, you're going to have to be on the case here. People are going to come to you and be like, yo, Taxi 2 le jeu. And you're going to have to hook them up. You got the connections.
It's pretty rare, actually.
Yeah, it is. I know. When I bought it, it was worthless. I got it for like $13. Because, again,
Well,
nobody
now
gave
it's
a shit.
about
At the
$70.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit at the time.
And Remy has 8 of
Well,
them.
Yeah, Remi's got like a
What?
box.
No.
He's got boxes sealed. Kyle, go to
Sealed.
Remi's house. He's got a whole box of them all sealed, minty
Yep.
fresh, straight from the
Great.
factory. Every French
Don't
person
come
has
to
a
my
box
house,
of
please.
those. They just won't. They all lie.
He's
about
lying.
Uh-huh.
It. See, he's lying. He's saying that they don't have them. We all know it's
You
true.
have conflict.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other general collecting tips? And he said, when it comes to collecting, what can defeat the purpose when you're spending too much? What can cause an imbalance? Dude, collecting sealed stuff, that's when it causes an imbalance. You shouldn't try to do that.
I agree.
That's out of control. I mean, I respect that.
That's way too much.
That's an ambitious goal, but you will like sell your house to accomplish that one.
Twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're like living in a mansion, man, like getting a full sealed Dreamcast set, the time is gone.
I'd
and
also
I've
say
never seen Taxi 2 sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sealed. The problem is, yeah, sealed. Because if you're not doing sealed, I'd say avoid eBay until you have to, for the most part, because they tend to have higher prices.
I think you will have to.
But if you're doing sealed, it's like you're not going to find that kind of stuff at flea markets or like local stores for the most part, or anywhere, right?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly rare to find sealed stuff anywhere. Yeah, so. And the amount of, like, let's assume there were a couple of stores in your area that might happen to have a couple games sealed. It'll cost you, more in gas money to run around and try and find them than it would have if you just bought it on eBay.
Oh yeah,
totally.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, so I would tell you, don't go for complete, but don't go for sealed. And the other piece of advice I'll give you, make friends in other countries. Like if you're going for all the imports, try to find someone in Japan you can buddy up with. Try and find someone in Europe you can buddy up with, and have all these things mailed to them, and then just mail them to yourself in one big shipment. You'll save a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's my advice to Kyle and to anyone who wants to get into collecting. I'm actually going to be doing this video on collectors in general.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been interviewing a lot of people. That's why I was asking you guys if you guys are like collectors. I've been interviewing people who go for like full sets and like what their motivations are. I don't know when the hell this video is going to come out because I've been shooting clips for it for months now. But we'll see.
Surprise!
Yeah,
spoiler.
Hey, that's you guys get to know because you're on the podcast, and all the Patreon backers you get to know. And if you saw this like when it got the public release, you still get to know. Everybody gets to know. It's just I don't know when the hell I don't know when that.
It's win-win-win.
Yeah, everyone's a winner.
Yeah, I just don't know when the hell that video is going to come out because it's a long time in production. But anyway, that's it for that subject. So let's move on to the next one here. Quickly, I just want to give a shout out to a guy named Colin. He is a Patreon backer who has pledged at the tier to receive shout outs. So thank you, Colin, for supporting the Patreon, whatever the hell the name of this podcast is that we still haven't decided because we're really unprofessional. I still like the name Chip In, by the way. I still think that's like the best possible name for this podcast.
I love that.
If you would like to chip in and hear this podcast early, you can do that at any time by going to patreon.com/Adam Koralik and checking it out. So moving on, thank you again, Colin. The next subject was Remi's as well, and this was actually a pretty interesting subject. This, I think, gave us all a good laugh. You wanted to talk about parents and video games and to see if we had any stories about ours.
Well, yeah, because my father don't give a shit, so that's done. But my mom actually has I think it was 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the games in it that you need to meet other people. So for her to be easier, she actually have 3 or 4, I don't remember, and that's okay because that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that she loves to see me play some games, like most importantly the Legend of Zelda games. And I'm forbidden to play any Zelda game without her. That can be a pain sometimes.
So she likes watching you play the video game?
Yeah.
It's like a live version of the Let's Plays?
Yeah, kinda. And one time she said, "Can you record it?" And I said, "Yeah, I could, but I need something for that." "Is it expensive?" "I don't know. Why?" "Well, you could do some kind of movie." "Oh, come on."
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, did you end up doing that?
No, because with everything that I have in my life, I don't have the time to just do that.
Yeah, Let's Plays are... Yeah, they take time. People don't understand how hard that stuff actually is if you like really want to record everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I agree.
How about you, Chip? Any cool stories about your parents and video games?
Well, maybe not cool.
Amusing is fine. It's whatever.
Anecdotal or interesting.
My parents tend to freak out sometimes about video games, so there were times I'd play games and they just like, "Oh, no, not anymore," and they just take it away and it disappear, right? Especially when I was younger, right? So, like, for example, playing Doom on the Super Nintendo, that disappeared. Duke Nukem as well, I think, on there disappeared. So
Violence.
had a lot of video games just disappear, and the story was always like, "Oh, the video game fairy took them away." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Video game fairy.
To be fair, I mean, I wasn't the one buying them; they're the ones that getting them for me. And really, it was a mixture of like, my dad would come back from working in another state, come back, have like gifts for me, like VHS tapes and video games. I'd be like, "Oh, cool!" And I start playing it. My mom would see, and she's like, "Oh no, that's terrible!" And then it just disappear, right? So the video game fairy gives, and the video game fairy takes away.
Video game fairy giveth what she
shame.
can taketh away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I mean, but later they became more supportive. You know, like because I play a lot of party games with my friends, so it's kind of like one of the things we do. We, you know, GameCube or one of those things that had a lot of controller ports. We play Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers, something like that. But as for them, both of them do not really know how to play any of traditional games, at least that I think of on game consoles. But they were both obsessed with mobile games, especially things like Ruzzle and those other ones you just kind of play against someone else, right? So, no real fun stories with parents. Mine are not really into video games, nor do they really do that much. When I was playing them by myself, they just kind of said, "Okay, he's in the corner just doing something. He's not starting a fire, so that's good." Right? So there you go.
I'm trying to think. Like, all right, so my mother, she had an Atari 2600. She bought it in like the early 80s.
Oh yeah, she gave it
Yeah,
to you.
she
up
did.
there.
That's exactly right. Yeah, she bought it because, as she told me, a bunch of her friends had them, and she was trying to just fit in. And then she had it, and then she was like, "This is stupid." Like, I mean, because we're talking the early '80s. She was already like, you know, a fully grown woman working and stuff. And for some reason, it was kind of like all these people she knew was like, "Have you heard about this thing? You have to get this thing." And it was like the Wii of the day. Like, you know, it was just a popular fad. And so she got one. She played like, you know, Pac-Man on it. She's like, "This is retarded," and then she didn't play it anymore because, you know, Pac-Man for 2600 is terrible. But she had a bunch of games for it. Fast forward to like the early 90s, you know, I've been playing video games in my cousin's house. Like, I'm playing Super Mario World for SNES, and my friends all had like Sonic on the Genesis, and I'm like, "Come on, I gotta get a video game system." And she just takes out this old 2600. She's like, "Here, they're all the same thing." And they weren't, but, you know, I played that. I had fun on that for a while. Eventually I convinced her to, you know, hook me up with a Genesis. It took a long time. It was like late 93. I mean, the Genesis was essentially discontinued in like 94, 95. So it was, you know, I was right there at the end. And I maintain that I think there was like a rubber band effect to that, because she held me back from video games for so damn long compared to everyone else, that by the time it was cool and to release it, it was such an intense force that now professionally my whole job revolves around video games. And
What has she done? Oh no!
No. It's funny because, you know, she doesn't understand that at all. You know, like, I think she tells people I'm a lawyer or something. I don't know what the hell she's
A lawyer?
No, not really, but like she has no idea what my job is. So whenever somebody asks her, she's like, "He makes movies" or something. You know, like that's all she knows what to say. I tried to get her to play some video games over the years, because there would always be these random moments that would pop up that would surprise me. Like, she played Sonic a little bit and thought it was stupid, and then like fast forward to like, I want to say like 2008, 2009. You guys ever play that board game Seen It? It's like a movie trivia game on DVD. So she really liked the board game, and then I convinced her, you know, there was an Xbox 360 version of that. I kid you not, I convinced her to buy an Xbox 360, which she thought was just a DVD player, by the way. That's what she thought it was. It's a DVD player. That's it. That's all it does. And I convinced her to get this thing, which was the game. It comes with its own controllers and everything. And she thought it was just like a big DVD box that was for the DVD player. No matter what I told her, it was kind of like that episode of Seinfeld where he buys his father like the wizard, and all he thinks is it's a tip calculator. He's like, "It does other things." You know? Eventually I showed her that you can watch Netflix on it and you can do all these things. So she really loves her. She now has an Xbox One, and she uses it for Netflix. She uses it for Skype. You know, she uses it for all sorts of things, but doesn't own a single game for it. The last time I tried to get her to play a game that wasn't the Seen It stuff is I briefly got her to play Call of Duty 2 for like for like 1 minute. Yeah, well, the one scene where they like when the Americans are storming Normandy, you go like up there. I got up there for her, and I gave her the controller, and immediately all that happens is she takes the controller, and like this character on screen, their gun aims to the sky and is just circling around over and over and over again because she couldn't figure out how the controls work. It was pretty funny. The only other thing I can think of is that when the Wii was at its height of popularity, like, she was, like, this close to buying one, and I actually had to talk her out of it. She's like, I'm going to go over and buy a Wii. I'm like, what the hell are you going to do with a Wii?
Yeah.
You know? Like, what are you going to... She's like, the bowling, though. The bowling. You know?
Yeah, now that I think about it, my parents might have played a little bit with the Wii when I first got it. Right?
Yeah.
But that was basically it. It was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then, like I guess your mom with the Atari is like, okay, done with it now.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, tell you what, I have a Wii. Come over, play the bowling thing at my house for a bit. She played it for like 5 minutes. She's like, this is stupid. I'm like, yeah, and you almost bought one of these.
Yep.
Yeah. That was pretty much
Thank God.
my mother's entire history with video games.
Mine's the other way.
Yeah?
No, totally. She's the one that got me into video games, actually.
Wow. Yeah,
When I was a kid, I was watching her.
Huh.
my mom tried to talk me out of it. She's like, why don't you play basketball or something? I'm like, no. I'm good.
Oh, my parents made me do everything: basketball, baseball, tennis, all the things, right?
There's no button on it.
Yeah, exactly. This baseball has terrible graphics.
I know.
Totally.
And
So
painful.
unreal.
You get hit in the face.
Exactly. I don't get tired
That's
from
right.
playing Genesis. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're good on that. Chip, do you want to introduce your next subject?
Sure. So this is more just like a round table discussion, round audio Skype discussion, I guess. Basically, what is your favorite medium for video games? You know, cartridges, floppy disks, CD, DVD, HD DVD, Blu-ray, blah blah blah, cassettes. You know, any of those things. Just kind of curious, what if you could have a game console that just had that media, which one would you want? Or is it mostly, you like a certain media because of the games that came on the media, right? It's like, what do you like the most?
That's kind of a difficult question because every single one of them comes with technical limitations. Like if I were to say, oh, I really like cartridges, then I'm kind of locked at anything the N64 could do, and theoretically we can't go any higher. What
do you consider? What do you consider the like the 3DS and those kind of things?
Yeah, I did a video on that about the NX, and I don't even know what to call those. I think what are they called? Game cards? Is what
Yeah, I guess they're closer to card. I mean, it's like a mixture between an SD card and some proprietary thing.
Yeah,
right?
so that's what people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call them.
It's a
I'm gonna
mix.
call them game cards. Essentially, Nintendo's proprietary format. Also, you left UMD off this list, dude.
Oh, snap!
Wow.
right.
Could you?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Sony
for
hater,
people that are
hashtag
listening, I have like a
Sony
huge
hater,
list of
hashtag.
these media things on here.
Hashtag
Yeah,
hater.
hashtag Sony hater.
Dude, I have like so many UMDs and they all suck because it's better just to hack the PSP and play them digitally.
Oh, I know.
Instead.
I was just messing with you. Well, okay. I don't know. I'm stuck between either cartridges just because of reliability and basically ease of use. But also, I really like, and the only system I think ever did this correctly was the Xbox 360, where you could play games off of a disc, or you could install the disc and run them off the hard drive. I really like that capability because then you get the advantages of both.
Yep.
The Xbox One and PS4 obviously run via Blu-ray, and they run off a hard drive, which is great, but you don't have the option to run off a disc. And with the PS3, we saw, since it's the only Blu-ray console that did run off the disc, we saw how how much of a disadvantage that is because there's just too much data for it to be able to read effectively. So it often had to install like chunks of the game to kind of make up for it. So it's kind of an all or nothing. I guess in that sense, I kind of like that. I guess I like DVDs, but with the caveat that you can also install the games optionally.
Okay, so you like that for practicality. Now just for the cool factor, or just like what do you like in terms of the physical part of it, right? Like in terms of like which would be your favorite, just because it's physical.
I'm gonna still go with I'm gonna say DVDs. I mean, if you look at my
Still with DVD?
yeah, the reason I'm gonna say that is if you take a look at my collection, like I love cartridges, man, but they're way harder to collect, just because they often are beat to shit and stuff, and like the boxes are always missing, etc. With disc-based games, you can call it an advantage or a disadvantage depending on how you look at it, but the discs pretty much always stayed with the case. Probably because the discs could be easily damaged, so as a result, people kept them with the case. As a result, a lot of them exist in better condition, and so they make very good, shelf art. Basically, you can collect them and have it look really good on a shelf. Whereas a sea of cartridges, looks like a sea of gray. You know, you put N64 stuff on a wall, it's just, unless you get those custom end labels, which is not something Nintendo did, then it's just a sea of gray with a couple of like red, black, and blue ones and yellow ones mixed in. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I enjoy DVD overall because of ease of use, what can be done with it in the case of the 360, and because it's just, I don't know, it's just more fun to collect for, because you get, in addition to the game with all of the bonus features discs had to offer at the time, you also get the cool artwork and everything. And you get the artwork. You get to look at the artwork, and you get to look at the case, even if you have the game in use.
That's true.
Yep,
That's true.
Remy.
I'm thinking it's very hard. I'm actually gonna go with cartridges. I really like the durability that it has. I like DVDs too because of the size it can have, but I had some that when there was a little scratch, you couldn't play it anymore, and that really annoyed me.
Do you ever try getting them resurfaced? Because you'd be amazed how many discs can be saved by resurfacing.
I wanted to, but I couldn't find a place to do it.
That's too bad.
And there's one you can buy, but they're very expensive.
Oh yeah, the good ones are like $3,000.
Yeah.
I noticed you put HD DVD on this list, even though no console ever used it.
Oh yeah, this just popped in my head.
That's true.
Any medium, right?
Yeah, except
But not UMDs.
Yeah, see, Remy's calling you out, dude.
I forgot about them.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't put Hue cards on there either, man. So.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go.
Hashtag hates TurboGrafx.
Even though I just got, I got my PC Engine Duo back, like I told you before, right?
Yes.
And works fine.
Yeah.
It's great.
Cool.
Got hooked up to the FrameMeister now, because apparently my other thing.
That's even better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Well, you have a FrameMeister.
I sort of do. I haven't done a video on it yet.
You kind of have one.
Yeah, it's still in the
I don't
box.
care. You have one. It's your own fault for not doing anything.
I haven't
with
had
it.
time
You're
to
too
do
busy.
it, man. I haven't had time to do anything with it yet.
You're just too popular. That's the problem.
It's literally still in the box it was mailed in, because I haven't had a chance to open it.
It's
Oh,
mint
my
in
goodness.
box.
It's super mint in box.
Mint in box. The one box I regret opening was I had what is it, the Dreamcast camera thing?
The
Remember
Dream
that?
Eye.
Yeah, there you go.
Dream Eye.
I opened the box and I took things out. I'm like, oh, this is cool, and I tried to put it back in. I could never put it back in correctly. So it's just like this bulgy box now.
Yeah, sometimes, man. I don't know how those people do it. The people who work in those factories, how they get all that shit to in a box. It's always impressive.
Yeah, I'm not good at packing, so
Yeah.
needless to say, I failed
That
there.
explains all the boxes.
No, me
in your
neither.
house.
But, hey, wait,
Yeah, totally.
you can't even see my apartment. You don't know how many boxes I have.
Based on your description alone, the fact that
I
you
have more
couldn't do this
circuits.
podcast without moving boxes out of the way to see your screen says a lot.
Oh, okay.
And you told us that.
Yeah. You told us, man. It's all you.
Okay, well, I'll take a picture one day and send you guys.
I would
but-
love that picture. In fact, if you're cool with
yeah,
it, give me the
me
picture.
too.
I'll put it in the video.
Oh, sure. Okay,
Alright.
I'll take a picture or two. But anyway, so
Exposed.
yeah, exposed, right?
Exposed.
I don't know. But my favorite medium would probably be so like Adam. I kind of have two different views, but it's not going to go towards the same medium. So I definitely like the Game Boy Advance kind of cartridge in terms of durability. Those things, especially when I was younger, I'd toss them around. I could put them in my pocket and carry them to a friend's house, all that kind of stuff, and I didn't have to worry about having a backpack with them in there or carrying something else. I could just put them in my pocket and go, right? And those things, I never had a single issue with those kind of things. So that kind of plug and play that they had going there, I really like. I don't like as much the Nintendo DS card style thing, right? Because it feels a little more fragile. The pins are more exposed, or the contact, whatever they are more exposed.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I definitely like the Game Boy Advance. Not so much the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy, the original one, because I think those had the battery in them, right, to preserve save data or something.
Yeah.
And so those, granted, I don't have any because I lost all my games in France a long time ago.
Wow, Remy, you just took his game.
Yeah, right.
What?
I didn't know who he was. He said his name was Remi. He walked up, just took my backpack, and left.
Wow.
No.
I swear, it's not me.
Yeah, I was on a train in France when I was little, and I had one of those classic black Game Boy backpacks with all the games in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine was with me. He asked to borrow a game, got it, sat it down, and we both left. And as Remi probably knows, the trains in France and most of Europe move pretty quickly. So within like 2 minutes, it was already gone, and so are all the games. And then
I'm sad now.
Remi,
Yeah,
can you
go to
see
the
if you can
collection
track that down for him?
yeah, Remi.
Yeah, of
Like if you're
course.
not
old.
busy.
I'll find some
All
time.
right, cool, thanks.
Yeah, but I don't even have my Game Boy Advance games anymore either because they disappeared after I went to college. I don't know what happened to those, but I had quite a few of those too.
It was the video game gnome or whatever. Fairy.
Fairy,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
The
kinda-
fairy.
It was taking them all back after that, even though I paid for a lot of those.
She must have really liked you. She followed you all the way to France and everything.
Oh yeah, you know it. But
Oh.
yeah, so I don't have any of
No.
those games anymore. But they definitely were my favorite medium for portability, durability. Now I didn't keep any of the boxes right that they came in.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll have a single box for my Super Nintendo or anything else. I didn't keep a single one of those, but I did keep a lot for the PlayStation. So I definitely like the PlayStation as the form factor, I guess. I especially like the cases that were a bit bigger, meant to hold more than one disc, even though there might only be one disc in there. I think a lot of Europe had it like that.
Their cases are totally different than ours.
Yeah, so I have a couple, like I have Suikoden, and I have I think Brave Fencer Musashi and a couple other ones like that that are like that. So I like those just for the art and a bit of a difference than the standard jewel case. But medium wise, I definitely like the Game Boy Advance the most, and I guess the Neo Geo Pocket's the same way.
But see, that was because it was a functional thing. Like PlayStation cases, you had to keep them because of the discs. Whereas the cartridges, you didn't necessarily need the boxes. And I'll tell you right now, what I'm learning lately, Game Boy Advance stuff is becoming insanely expensive, especially if it has the box.
Oh yeah, well I mean, I would imagine anything that has had a box is more expensive or becoming more so, right?
Yeah.
Like 64 games are a lot more expensive now, right?
Yep.
The 32X is getting high.
Yeah, 32X in Europe must be a completely different animal because it's much harder to find over there. Over here, 32X is worthless.
Totally. There's a bunch that we didn't have also.
Yeah, you guys got two that we didn't get. FIFA 96, which I picked up 2 years ago, and then there was Dark Side, which I'll never see in my lifetime. It's a shmup that they got for the 32X. It's like on the low end, like a 600-pound game. Yeah, expensive.
Totally.
And Kyle will have to get. No, I'm kidding. But
Kyle, you're gonna have to get a sealed copy of it just to be cool.
yeah. Okay, well that's all I've got for that discussion.
All right, then we
We've
will
all
come up
kinda
to our
gone through.
final subject here, which comes to us from Corey. And simple question, basically: Xbox One S. What's its impact on the market? What do you think Sony's response is going to be? I guess it's hard to say. I mean, it's so soon, that it's come out. I don't know if I think it's just going to be kind of like what happened with the Xbox 360 Slim. Like people will buy it and they'll gradually get rid of the launch model over time. The thing is, the Xbox One S doesn't make enough of a system improvement for anybody to really be sweating over at Sony. If this was the Scorpio, if they had launched the Scorpio now, like a 4K gaming console at I know it's absurd to say, but at like $300 or $400, then I could
be totally different.
Yeah, then Sony would be like shitting a brick. But Xbox One S is essentially a slim model. It'll probably help Microsoft out because the Xbox One was big and bulky, and this thing's cheaper and it's probably more reliable. It looks nicer, it's more efficient, it has certain advantages, it fits into your shelving system better, it can be put up vertically and all that kind of stuff. So it'll probably help the Xbox One in general over the holidays. But I think the biggest problem with the Xbox One S is the fact that we already know Scorpio's coming. So I think that's more of a problem to them than Sony.
That was a weird move.
It really was.
I mean, it really either Microsoft, the Xbox division, right, is just really divided. There's not like one central leadership that made this decision, this call, right? Or literally they already had the Xbox One S planned, and we're already getting that kind of developed and already done the research. And then Scorpio is like, hey, we need to really make something better, so let's just make Scorpio now, right? Hard to really say, but yeah, I can't imagine them having already announced the Scorpio when they had the Xbox One S. It's kind of like they had already announced the what was the thing that came after the Slim for Xbox 360? Was there something?
The E?
The E, like the
The
Elite.
Xbox 360e.
Huh?
No, the Elite
E?
was after the Elite was a black original
the
360
original.
that came out with HDMI 1 year later. It came out the same weekend as the PS3 and the Wii.
Okay.
It was exactly the same except it was black and had an HDMI port. I think you're talking about like the third iteration of the Xbox 360, which was the 360e.
Okay, so it's kind of like if they said, "Oh, look, the E is going to come out next year, but also here's the Slim this year," right? It's because that is kind of weird.
Yeah.
The one advantage, I guess, of them still doing this Xbox One S is that, well, depending on the cost, right, it's more marketing, so it gets the Xbox name out again, and people are maybe that hadn't gotten one yet might say that aren't really paying attention to all the news, not going to wait for a Scorpio. It's like, oh, okay, this Slim's out, so now there's a brand new version of this console. It's probably better. I'll get that one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I watched what's his name? I think you mentioned before, the Retro Tech USA guy.
Review Tech USA.
Review Tech
Review
USA.
Tech.
There you go. Yeah, I'm terrible with names.
It's all good.
So he had a video out on it, right? And he was kind of like, yeah, he couldn't see people really getting the S other than collectors for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's someone that literally could not wait 1 year for Scorpio, or however long it's going to be, and did not have an Xbox One already, and just really, really wanted an Xbox One. There's not really that big of a market for the Xbox One S.
Mm-hmm. The only thing so I think what you were saying before about how you think it's like two different teams responsible for this decision. From what I read about this, like right when E3 happened, it sounds like Phil Spencer, who's like the head of Xbox, he seemed to be all about the Scorpio side of things. Like that seemed to be his deal. And it seems like you're probably right. It was probably like someone else over there was like, we need a slim model, and they were working on that for a while. And then they got far enough along before somebody was like, we're going to do the Scorpio thing. And they're like, well, what do we do with the S? Like, well, I don't know, release it anyway. And so it seems like their plan is just to kind of be like, no. This is just a newer version of the Xbox One. Don't worry. If you still want an Xbox One, this is the way to go. And then next year you'll have the Scorpio, and that'll be like the next big thing. So this could, they claim that they're all going to live like together under one roof, which I find to be ridiculous.
I don't think it can.
Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, I have no problem with them releasing an Xbox One S. I mean, slim models, that is a thing that has been around for a long, long time in video games. That's no big deal. But it is fundamentally weird. We're going to have this, like, quasi-generational upgrade in a year. It just makes you kind of question the point of the Xbox One S. But, I mean, so far it's getting pretty good reviews. But as you said, like, most people who are talking about it are saying like the real market for this is primarily collectors.
Yeah, which not that big of a market.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, maybe you'll get some people that were too young at the time, like some kids that were too young at the time to get the Xbox One when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're older now and they can go out and get the Xbox One S or convince their parents to get something. Or maybe it'll just trigger more sales for the original Xbox One.
Yeah,
because it'll be cheaper.
Yeah,
right?
they're gonna cleanse inventory
yeah.
on those things. Absolutely. Their plan, I'm sure, is to get rid of them all before the holidays, because then they want to push the Xbox One S throughout. Because this is going to be the one Christmas season where they get to do that. Because next year it'll be Scorpio.
Yep.
So yeah, I know we haven't really talked much about it, but do you think Sony's going to have a response to this? I mean, isn't PS4K Neo or whatever supposed to come out like in October?
I think it is.
And we still don't know anything about it.
I didn't know they had a date planned for it.
Yeah,
but,
I thought it was supposed to be timed with like the VR thing.
Maybe. I have not been following that at all, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I'd say unless they've already had a team doing work to make a slim, in quotes, version of the PS4 or some equivalent, right? I can't imagine them saying, guys, we gotta pay a lot of money to get a new team together to design a smaller version of this PS4 because Microsoft, right? I just don't really see them doing that, especially when, sure, it gets good reviews, but it's not like people are saying, oh, the Xbox One S blows the PS4 out of the water with its hardware. It's like it doesn't. So
yeah,
there's not really a reason to say, look, now we have a slim version. Because in fact, I think what's his name again? Review Tech
USA.
He I think he had like the PS4 on top of a
he size compared them. They're pretty much the same.
Yeah, and so the slim Xbox One or the Xbox One S is basically, I think it's like longer in one way and then the same size in the other or something.
Yeah.
So it's not like the PS4, the original one, is like huge as well. It needs to be trimmed down. So I just don't see a reason for Sony to really do this. Now they might try to do like a little marketing thing to get some renewed interest in the PS4 as well, since this is also getting a little buzz for Microsoft. But other than that, I just don't really see them they're not going to try to rush out anything if they haven't already been planning for it, right?
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, people kind of forget there already kind of was a PS4, and not slim, but there was a revision to it. When the launch models all had these like touch sensitive buttons that aren't really clickable. Like a year or two in, they switched it so they're actually clickable buttons, and then they got rid of that matte surface, so it's not as doesn't absorb dust as much. Subtle differences, but that already happened. They just didn't make as big of a deal about it because it's obviously not a full-on redesign. If I had to guess, I'd say Sony's going to do nothing other than marketing the PS4 in some other creative way this holiday season. I think that's all.
As long as it's
I
not
think
the,
that's
not
all
the
I think's
creepy
gonna
commercials from the PS3, right? Like
Yeah.
the baby,
Oh no, no, please.
the weird baby thing.
How about the PS9? Remember that?
PS9?
PS9?
You don't remember that?
No.
All right, when we get
No.
off this podcast, go look this up. There was a PlayStation 2 commercial back in the day for PlayStation 9.
Was this like a in the
Just
future
I'm not
PlayStation
gonna
9
explain
thing?
it to you. It's. I want everybody once you've done listening to the podcast, go look it up.
You have to put an annotation on top of this part. Say like, here's a link to the PS9.
Yeah, all right, fine. Annotations.
Yeah.
What up?
Annotations. Yeah, no, people have those disabled totally.
Yeah, they usually do.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
we'll turn them back on just for this.
All right, I think that's good. All right, thank you guys. Very awesome as always doing this with you. Thank you everybody for listening and watching, and I guess we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.